The college football experience, Colorado Buffaloes 2022 college football season preview episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Networks, presented by WynnBET. Bet $50 at WynnBET and get $200 in free bets. Bet big, win bigger with WynnBET. Download the WynnBET app now or visit wynnbet.com. That's WYNNBet.com and start winning today. We're also brought to you by Sleeper. You already play fantasy on Sleeper, but now you can win cold hard cash with their brand new over/under game. Just head to sleeper.com/SGP on your phone to join the SGPN group, and Sleeper will automatically match your first deposit up to $100. That's sleeper.com/SGP. We're also brought to you by us. Yes, the SGPN app is live in the App Store and Google Play Store. It is free to download, and it is your home for all of our free picks and podcasts. So grab that thing today and let it ride.
Hey, what's up, you degenerate gamblers? This is Bill Burr, and you're listening to SGPN. Let it ride, baby.
Yes. Woo! Welcome to the college football experience, Colorado Buffalo season preview. My name is Kobe Swinging Database Dan, aka Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
Nobody knows nothing.
Somebody knows. Double the price, but no one touches Dundee.
Woo! You know I'm a Colorado Buff guy. Ralphie, the greatest mascot in sports. I am joined by my co-host. Give it up for former JMU Duke defensive back, the burrito eating, sideline kiss stealing, wheeling and dealing, Patty C in the place to be.
Hi, up. Oh yeah. Let me tell you what. Bobby Dant, right, was a diehard Colorado Buffs fan, but you know there were times when I've seen you super duper excited. This was your team. This was your number one team for basically. Well, do you think ECU is taking over Colorado as your top team?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because as you get older, I don't think it has to do because ECU had the Scotty Montgomery years. I think as you get older and you realize, certain things, obviously Colorado was a like a blue blood for like 20 years in college football.
Yeah.
And I didn't like a lot of the things that went on, like
administration wise.
Yeah. I mean, Gary Barnett, I'm a Gary Barnett guy.
Yeah.
All right. I'm a Bill McCartney guy. And unfortunately, I feel like they don't care about football the way they should,
or the way they did.
Yeah, or the way they did. Their institution, was producing. I mean, before a recent stretch by, obviously Georgia this year, but I think Ohio State had a year. But for a while, Colorado had the record for the most players drafted.
I was just looking at that right now, real quick. Let me pop this bad boy
in
out.
one season, and that was like, I don't know, like 96 or 95, something like that.
They were cranking them out from 1991 to 2003. 11 4 years with 4 or more players drafted in 12 seasons. Right. Since then, 2004 to present, only 3 seasons with 4 players drafted and never more than 4. And most of those seasons from 91 to 2003, they're having like 7, 8, 9 players drafted.
Even in the 80s, though, they had some good players. They might not. I know, like Richard Johnson went to the USFL first. But I'm saying, like, he became a 1,000-yard receiver with the Lions. There were certain players they had our boy, what's his name? There was a slew of great, pretty good 80s players like safety Jeff Donaldson, cornerback Mark Haynes with the Denver Broncos, went to the Super Bowl with the Broncos. That was an all-pro with the Giants. Lee Roussan at running back. They had talent. Jeff Campbell at the wide receiver spot. I know he was on the national championship team. They went to back-to-back national championships.
Was that 90 and 91?
Yeah. And what happened, man? Like they just need to invest in their football program. Colorado's a state that loves their football. Look at the Denver Broncos. They have passionate fans. Even Colorado State has passionate fans. Air Force has passionate fans. Colorado was once a thing that they could hang their hat on. It's kind of lost some luster. I didn't agree with the firing of Mike McIntyre, and they went and got Mel Tucker. Now, I didn't like the hire at the time, but I will say I did like certain things about Mel Tucker. He was recruiting better, but he jetted in the middle of the night. That's why we call him Midnight Mel. and I didn't think the Karl Dorrell hire, as much as he's had a actually successful history as a college football coach.
He had a great year off the top.
Yeah,
but
last year he also got dealt. I'm not sure. I know a lot of publications probably saying he's a bad coach. Last year was a tough hand for any coach because what you had was Sam Neuer transfer very late to Oregon State. That was their returning starting quarterback. He felt like Dorrell was going to go the younger route and start JT Shrout, the Tennessee transfer.
Yeah.
So he bails to Corvallis, which is fair. I mean, look, I get it. And then Shrout tears his ACL.
Do you think Shrout would have been better than Neuer?
Oh, definitely. He was a higher recruit.
Yeah. I mean, Neuer you said was a defensive back.
He was a safety that Neuer was still though solid. He was better than Brandon Lewis. And then, so all of a sudden both those guys are gone. And on the fly, he's got to start this freshman Brandon Lewis, who clearly struggled. But we had, and I don't understand how we were that bad offensively. I'm a Darren Chiaverini fan. I love Darren back to his playing days at Colorado, but I do think they could have been more creative and more successful. I thought the offensive line wasn't that bad last year. I would have ran a lot more screens to get him going because we had very talented wide receivers. They're all gone now, but Jerry Rice's son, who's going to be starting at USC, Brendan Rice, Dimitri Stanley, son of Walter Stanley, former Colorado player, played for the Green Bay Packers in the 80s and 90s. We also had
while we're on the topic of former NFL stars,
Levante Chenault,
sons.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, Chenault.
Chenault. That's what I'm saying. We had a great receiving core last year.
Yeah,
and we didn't. I get it. We had a freshman quarterback. We struggled to get the ball in the air at all. But I would have been more creative on getting them the ball on screens and stuff like that. But I guess defenses perhaps were much easier said than done. And Darren, he's now with Chip Kelly at UCLA.
Did Brandon Lewis start the entire season?
Yes.
10 touchdowns.
We didn't have another backup. That was what's crazy is you had a walk on that came on
Drew Carter. 5 passing attempts.
And
12 attempts.
It was just a really bad scenario. I think the roster was better than what the record was.
Yeah.
So I can blame Karl Dorrell a bit there.
Scheduling tough though.
Scheduling's always been since I have been a Colorado fan, in 1990. I became a Colorado fan because my oldest brother was a diehard Notre Dame fan.
Yeah.
And that's one of my first memories was watching Colorado beat Notre Dame. So
cost them a national championship.
So I've been a fan since then, but I feel like they've always scheduled unbelievably aggressively. Like, I mean, back to the Big 12, I felt like I feel like every year they're in the top 10 hardest schedules for like 30 years.
Yeah.
And this year I think they might be number 1.
Yeah. No exception here.
We'll hop into it, but first let's break down what happened on offense here because I'm not very fond. So Karl Dorrell's 8-10 as a head coach, Patty C.
At Colorado.
At UCLA, he had some successful years. Still got fired there, but like you can make a case.
What do you do? It 35-27 at UCLA.
You can make. I mean, that's pretty good considering
a 10-win season.
If you pull up Chip Kelly's record at UCLA right now, it's probably something similar. I think it might even be a little worse.
He managed to go bowling every single year at UCLA. 5 years, 5 bowl games. Not bad.
Yeah. So I am worried though. Darren Chiaverini, the OC from last year, gone. He's at UCLA with Chip Kelly now. He's not an OC. He's an offensive analyst, I believe. But they went out and hired Mike Samford. Look, Mike seems to have a decent pulse on recruiting. It seems like so far since he's been employed. I was not a big fan of him or his father's coaching, I should say, like offensive schemes. Yeah. He could still be a good coach. I don't mean to throw shine at Mike. He's brand new. But he hired a coordinator that last year was 99th in total offense at Minnesota, 118th in passing offense. Well, we were 129. So are you? I guess okay. You hired a better passing, but not by much, and you had Tanner Morgan. So that to me is a red flag. They were 83rd in scoring offense.
That was a much more talented passing attack. I mean, Tanner Morgan took a huge step back.
That's what I'm saying, and that's why I was not very fond of the hire. I'm not saying he's a bad coach, but
I mean, in his 2 years as head coach,
what's happening to this program?
Yeah,
this is a program that was a blue blood for 20 to 25 years. I feel like in college football, at least bowl games were a bad year was like 6-6. Now, like you'd be so happy for a 6-6 season.
Well, 4-2 just 2 years ago. If you project that over a 12,
should have played for. If we had the new Pac-12 rules, they would have played for the Pac-12 championship that year.
Yeah. I mean, and Mike McIntyre gave him a 10-win season, so they're not super far away at any given time from having a great season. They just need to
invest though. I just read an NIL article where I think their highest paid player is $25,000 based through NIL, and that's just not going to cut it in college football in 2022. I mean, these players
are taking home millions. At this point.
I mean, they need to get that going. I love the Buffs. I'm rooting for them, obviously, but there is a ton of concern to me, and I don't get it because to me, you've seen what football can do to your institution from a financial standpoint when you make this was not that long ago. I mean, in 2002, you can make a case. Well, if we had a 14 playoff, they would have been in the playoff.
Yeah.
So that they were in the top 10 in 2016 with McIntyre. I mean, Dan Hawkins was the guy who kind of brought this down.
It's Division I football. It's the Big 12. It ain't either murals. You got 2 weeks after finals. You got a week in July 4th, and you got a week before camp starts. That's a month. That's probably more vacation than you guys get.
I mean, Colorado really of the whole mountain time zone was probably the best team for how long?
A while.
A long time.
I mean, and they should hire Troy Calhoun. Look at what McCartney did. He ran the wishbone.
Yeah.
And if you look at that staff, one of the greatest staffs, I think. I mean, you can go through and really, Carl Durrell actually was a part of the staff. I think in the mid '90s, 92 and 93, and then back again in 95 and 98, or all the way up to 98. But they had Les Miles was on that staff. I think what's Jim Caldwell was on that staff with the Detroit Lions, former coach. You can go on and on and on. Steve Logan, the East Carolina coach, who has that great quote about going to ECU. He was on Bill McCartney's staff at one point.
Yeah.
They got to get back to being.
I remember when I was in high school, what we looked at in Virginia as our, pass or defensive backfield films was Colorado tape.
Yeah.
They made a great series, and then of course they had amazing defensive backs during that time. It is possible to win big at Colorado.
Yeah, they actually had good defensive backs even in their bad years, like Jimmy Smith from the Baltimore Ravens, Isaiah Oliver on the Atlanta Falcons. Now, like even through these tough years, they're still a good institution at creating for linebackers and defensive backs. I don't get it, but they got killed in the transfer portal this year. We're going to get to that, but I wonder. Eric Bieniemy still is getting passed over in the NFL. I think that would be an interesting hire. But I want a Troy Calhoun. I want Troy Calhoun. I think they should call. I mean, it sounds terrible to say that Carl Durrell still the head coach, but that hire was not attractive to me.
Yeah. I mean, Carl Durrell, like we said, had a decent track record. His first year at Colorado, 4-2. So maybe it was a decent hire. And last year being what it was with the quarterback situation, maybe.
Well, I thought so. I thought like this next year we're going to be good, but then we'll get to it because the transfer portal definitely played a huge role. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what's going on, man. They got to get the program back together. Come on, let's get the band back together. Last year, Colorado was 121st in scoring offense, 98th in rush offense, 126th in pass offense, 129th in total offense. There's only 130 FBS teams last year.
Yeah.
So the second worst offense in the nation.
That's bad.
The quarterback spot, Brandon Lewis is back, so he got a lot of experience. Maybe he can figure some things out, Brandon Lewis. And then JT Shrout is healthy now, the Tennessee transfer. They also brought in Maddox Kopp from Houston. I think we're in a much better spot at the quarterback position, considering.
Yeah. Can't get too much worse.
The running back situation's been an absolute disaster. We thought we were so Jarek Broussard, who was probably our best offensive player,
Pac-12 Offensive Player of the Year last year.
He left for Michigan State, and Mel Tucker, son of Steve Broussard. That hurt. And then Ahmad Clayton, who was our backup, he bounced to Tulane. He's from New Orleans, so he's back home. And we still have Alex Fontenot. He's going to be the starter. I think Victor Venn will get some bucks. But we thought we were going to get Raymond Jefferson. He had said he's transferring to Colorado, Sam Houston State's running back. And last second he switched. So
he was getting like almost 7 yards a carry.
Yeah.
Thought you had something nice
we had
there?
something good. I mean, because I do think they've added some pieces late to try to mask what happened. But Brady Russell is back at tight end.
And I'm looking at the preseason all conference. They have no first team, no second team, no third team all conference preseason players, and only Brady Russell at tight end is fourth team all conference. That offense is gonna suck.
I mean, look, 2 of 5 back on the offensive line. I will say I'll key in on one player that I think could make some noise, but defensive coordinator Chris Wilson. Now I am a Chris Wilson fan. I'm a believer. He's from the Gary Barnett school of coaching, and I'm a Gary Barnett guy. And I think these defensive stats lie to me because they were on the field like 98% of the time last year because they couldn't get a first down.
Yeah,
there was like certain games they had like 3 first downs. Chris Wilson had his hands full. He held Texas A&M to 10 points, and he held them to 3 points essentially for like 59 minutes.
Yeah,
I mean, if Colorado could get some first downs, they would have beat a team that some people are saying are going to go to the playoffs this year. They were 73rd in scoring defense, 96th in rush defense, 90th in pass defense, 98th in total defense. I believe those are all lies. Yeah. I think they're a much better defense than that. Yeah. Now I don't
supposedly bringing back some experience.
I don't know now though. I mean, you got destroyed at the linebacker spot. Nate Lehman, they're one of their all-time best linebackers is gone. Another really good linebacker is gone as well. And then like they are returning their whole defensive line led by Terrence Lang, but just 1 of 3 in the linebacking core, which is Quinn Perry. The secondary got just completely raided. Isaiah Lewis, the safety, is back. I did like what he said, saying, "You don't want to be here, go."
Yeah.
Right. I'm staying here.
I believe he's the only. He was first team all conference defense. Other than that, that's basically the only stud they got on the field.
I mean, I'm gonna hit you with the portal in a second. They had studs, but they're all playing elsewhere and probably start. A lot of them are starting.
Yeah. Preseason conference, sorry.
Yeah. So, all right, folks. Before we get to that, we'll go game by game on the schedule and talk recruiting. I want to tell you that the Colorado Buffaloes 2022 season preview on the College Football Experience is brought to you by WynnBET. Yes, bet $50 at WynnBET and get $200 in free bets. Bet big, win bigger with WynnBET. Download the WynnBET app now or visit wynnbet.com. That's WYNNBet.com and start winning today. We're also brought to you by Sleeper. You already play fantasy on Sleeper, but now you can win cold hard cash with their brand new over under game. Just head to sleeper.com/SGP on your phone to join the SGPN group, and Sleeper will automatically match your first deposit up to $100. That's sleeper.com/SGP. We're also brought to you by us. The SGPN app is live in the App Store and Google Play Store. It's free to download. It's your home for all of our free picks and podcasting content. So grab that thing today and let it ride. We're also brought to you by Trade Coffee. Trade Coffee connects customers to the freshest and best tasting coffee they've ever made. I mean, this thing is fantastic. Essentially what they do is they partner with the country's best craft roasters. These are independent businesses from big cities and small towns, and trade customers are truly impactful for these independent roasters, often being the largest source of new growth for them. And it is expert tasted. Yes. What a job this is. Trade Coffee's team actually taste tests thousands of coffees. They keep 450 different kinds live and ready to ship every day. There's no perfect coffee, but there is a perfect coffee for you. And Trade's human-powered algorithm will actually find that for you. So you got to check it out right now. I mean, look, Trade is offering new subscribers a total of $30 off on your first order plus free shipping when you go to drinktrade.com/SGP. That's more than 40 cups of coffee for free, people.
Boom.
Get started today by taking their quiz at drinktrade.com/SGP and let Trade find you a coffee that you'll love. That's drinktrade.com/SGP for $30 off. We're also brought to you by IP Vanish. Did you know that browsing online using incognito mode doesn't actually protect your privacy? That's right. Without added security, you might as well be giving away all your private data to hackers, advertisers, your ISP, and other prying eyes. That's why here at the SGPN studios, we use IPVanish VPN to make it easy to stay truly private and secure on the internet. IPVanish helps you safely browse the internet by encrypting 100% of your data. So go to IPVanish.com/SGP and use the promo code SGP and claim 70% off your savings. That's IPVanish.com/SGP. Hopefully you're subscribed to us on YouTube, because as we got this sweet graphic with the Colorado Buffaloes behind us. Shout out to Ralphie, the best mascot in sports.
He is the best mascot.
They
got a live buffalo.
Yes,
that thing amazing. Is dangerous as hell.
They need to go back to the wishbone.
That's like a car, a wild car driving around the field.
They got a buffalo.
Yeah,
they won national championships with the wishbone offense.
You said they interviewed.
Apparently, they interviewed Calhoun the last time when they hired Darrell. Come on, guys. I'm not rooting for Karl Dorrell to get fired, but I think
you are rooting for him.
It might be inevitable. Yeah, I am rooting for him to run. Yeah, of course. I mean,
well, I don't get a brain, man.
Patty C. When we're talking Colorado Buffaloes, I got to play this.
Look out! Just watch him go. Down Buffalo. Oh no, it's a guy on a buffalo.
This country western vibes all over the place.
I am a guy on a buffalo, Patty C, and I'm trying hard to make sense on trying to bet the over here. But let me tell you what the transfer portal did to them. Are you prepared for their losses? Are you ready for this? Okay, they lost currently still in the portal. I'm sorry, is offensive lineman Carson Lee. Offensive lineman Chance Little went to Duke. Currently in the portal is their starting cornerback from a year ago, Chris Miller. Their punter, Josh Watts. Receiver, Dimitri Stanley, who I think is a baller, is going to Iowa State. Running back, Jarek Broussard, Michigan State. Offensive lineman, Kanan Ray to Tulane. Running back, Josh Davis, Southern Utah. Mekhi Blackman, USC. And guess what? Lincoln Riley's already raving about him as potentially their best defensive player. Wide receiver, Brendan Rice, USC. Oh, he's a fucking baller. Safety, Mark Perry. This guy's a beast too. Guess what? He's going to TCU, who we play week 1. Safety, Christian Gonzalez, our best secondary, our best defender in the secondary a year ago. He went to Oregon. Linebacker, Alec Pell, Northern Colorado. Defensive lineman, Jaden Simon, Tulsa. Wide receiver, Chris Carpenter, UTSA. Safety, Trustin Oliver, Central Arkansas. Linebacker, Zep Mayoa, Southern. Wide receiver, Keith Miller, Texas A&M. Wide receiver, Levante Chenault, Alabama State. Alabama State getting Levante Chenault, huge. Running back, Ashad Clayton, who I think is going to be pretty damn good at Tulane, is there. Linebacker Steele Dubar still in the portal. Defensive end Blaine Toll, Arkansas State. Linebacker Lloyd Murray, Sam Houston State. Defensive end Jason Harris, Arizona. Whew.
Gotta like the. Sorry, Colorado, but you gotta like the HBCUs pulling a top talent like Levante Chenault. Good story there, but tough for Colorado. 24 players lost in the portal, only 6 picked up.
They did recently do some solid work. Josh Chandler was one of the best linebackers in the Big 12. I've seen him rated as like a top 10 linebacker in college football. He comes in from West Virginia. Late get, nice get though. They brought in offensive lineman Luke Eckerd from Arizona. They brought in Chance Main, a edge rusher from Incarnate Word. They brought in Alabama offensive tackle Tommy Brown. Hopefully he'll be a starter. But this is the one I want to circle because I do think he might be a pretty good player. RJ Sneed, wide receiver from Baylor. If you watch Baylor, he was like their best wide receiver, I thought, over the past couple of years. That was a big get for Colorado because they got destroyed with their other receivers.
Yeah, that guy's like a 5th or 6th year senior.
He's good, man. He's good. So I think that could help the Buffs some. They also got Maddox Kopp, the quarterback I alluded to from Houston, that can provide a little bit of depth, I think, for the Buffs. But yeah, they got their ass kicked in the transfer portal. I don't think a team got hit worse than Colorado. Maybe you could make the case for Arizona State because of the situation going on with Herm Edwards, as you know, the NCAA and stuff.
Yeah.
But I think Colorado probably the team that got hit the hardest in the transfer portal. And it sucks. So Patty C, let's talk to me about recruiting.
Recruiting's been kind of nondescript. It's 53, 48, 36, 65, 58. Within the conference, that's good for 10, 9, 7, 10, 5.
They used to have a top 10 classes. Bill McCartney would own LA and Houston. He would get a ton of talent from LA and Houston, Texas.
Yeah, I mean the Houston makes sense being in the Big 12. The LA, for whatever reason, they were able to get. Say when Nebraska would get that too.
My friend Scott Hale, shout out to Scott Hale. He was telling me that Utah basically gets the players that Colorado used to get. He goes, man, when you watch Utah, that used to be Colorado.
Yeah,
they used to be in the mountains and they used to be hard, physical.
That's kind of true.
Yeah. So perhaps Kyle Whittingham stole the mojo.
Don't they have like a rivalry name, Rocky Mountain Showdown or something like that?
Bring back the Nebraska rivalry. That's another thing. We should have never left the Big 12. I'm sorry. I like the Pac-12, but I don't think. And
look what happened
fits
in Nebraska.
Yeah.
You cut off that conference tie, that pipeline to where everyone knows who you are.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're out.
I liked it in the Big 12. Fuck Texas. That's the moral of the story. Texas ruined all of it.
Texas ruins everything.
Because people thought Colorado and Nebraska, well, especially Colorado, was like, I don't know that there's going to be a Big 12. Let's get out of here. It seemed like the table was falling when Texas was threatening to leave. So everyone was trying to there was talk that Kansas State and Iowa State were going to be out in the middle of nowhere, be independents. So Colorado was like, let's clinch on to stability.
They were smart.
Yeah. But I just never.
It has hurt them a little bit.
I never appreciated the identity. They don't fit in. They were never like a pass happy team. They were always like a physical run team.
Yeah, the Pac-12 is supposed to be Pacific only. Don't try and integrate.
Maybe like a year or two with Neuheisel, they passed it a little too much for my personal liking. But under Barnett and McCartney, I mean, this was a run heavy team. So
agreed. Well, as far as composites, 9, 8, 8, 10. So they're within the conference. So toward the bottom of the conference from a talent perspective in the first place, let alone all these transfers going out.
Especially when the portal hits. Las Vegas, as you see our win total, if you're watching on YouTube, 3.5 wins for the Colorado Buffs. This schedule, see, this is what I mean. And this is why Karl Dorrell should be furious. What the fuck are they doing? If you're struggling, look at what Kentucky has done. And I feel like that we talked about this when we previewed Arizona. Arizona, the Wildcats play, I think, Mississippi State. They play at San Diego State, a 10-win team or 11-win team from a season ago. And then they play Mississippi State in the desert and North Dakota State. And you're like, what are you doing? You're trying, like, if you follow Kentucky's approach, which is now they're stealing like good recruits.
Yeah.
Of playing nobody.
Yeah. Wins are the biggest attractor.
And you get that extra month of prep because of the bowl going.
Yeah.
So, like Colorado, as much as I enjoyed it, and that when they were really good, I loved that we had all these big time matchups at Michigan, at Florida State.
It also probably kept you from getting to your ceiling as a program.
Yeah, and you look at the schedule, and you're just like, they play 11 Power Fives, and their 12th game is on the road at a team that won 10 games last year.
Yeah.
This is the stupidest schedule in college football. I used to love it, but I think now if you want to be smart and you care about your football program, you got to start scheduling like Austin P and maybe replace Air Force with New Mexico and maybe replace play one Power 5.
Name one good team that has 11 Power 5s on their schedule and a road game in their non-Power 5.
I don't know that I can name another team that has 11 Power 5s on the schedule at all this year.
Yeah.
I think maybe USC.
Stanford and USC seem like teams.
UCLA sometimes, but not this year.
Yeah, but those are the Pac-12 is idiotic, right? And that's why they're out of the playoff every single year is scheduling like this.
Guess what their schedule is next year? 11 Power 5s and the 12th team is Colorado State.
Yeah.
You're not going to have success. You go to 2024, Patty C, and I know I'm getting way off the road here, but guess who they got? They got North Dakota State as the FCS team in 2024 coming to Boulder.
That's the FCS you're inviting to town?
Yeah, and you're going to lose unless you get your shit together fast. You're going to lose to all these games. It's mind numbing to me. But here we go, 3.5 wins. Friday, September 2nd, and I think it is very important for Karl Dorrell to start out because I think your most winnable games are in the month of September. So I think it's very necessary to steal this game. Sonny Dykes is an air raid coach. TCU was not running the air raid. I mean, they did have some air raid philosophies, I would say. He's coming into TCU. it's always good to catch a coach on their first game in implementing their system. It's in Boulder at altitude. So perhaps we can steal this game. I think it's kind of a 50-50 game. TCU coming to Colorado.
It is. I mean,
we almost beat Texas A&M last year in the season opener. It was 10-7. We were up for 59 minutes.
Yeah, I don't think those Texas boys appreciate the altitude too much. TCU's last 3 games last year.
This is the most important game of the season, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
For Carl Durrell.
Because it dictates the direction of the season.
Yes.
And as far as the win totals, it's one of the big 50-50 games. I would say TCU's a better team here. I think Colorado's got so much to.
My thing is TCU, like, I am not high on the Sonny Dykes hire, and it doesn't make sense. Max Duggan does not strike me as an air raid quarterback.
Yeah.
So I actually think I think they're going to struggle. I think TCU is going to struggle this year. Now I'm not going to say I'm just going to say Colorado's going to win this game, but I do think it is a winnable game for Colorado.
Sure.
And I think I question that hire at TCU as much as I question the Durrell hire at Colorado. Obviously, based on last year, you'd have to go TCU.
Yeah.
So I'll go TCU.
Really stunk at the end of last year.
That's what I'm saying. And I don't know that Gary Patterson's not there anymore. That defense might be bad.
Yeah, that's true.
Week 2.
That's a 50-50. We'll check back on that game in a little bit.
Week 2, they're at Air Force. So my thing is, if they can win week 1,
yeah,
I do think this Air Force game is kind of a toss-up game because I think Colorado is stout on the defensive line. They return their whole defensive line. I think they'll be in, like, Air Force bleeds the clock. So
obviously,
the triple option teams don't just normally blow you out.
Yeah.
It kind of keeps the game close. We see it with Army. Why did Army lose to Ball State last year? Army was better than Ball State.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You're running clock.
But by you doing that, you keep the opponent in the game. That's the downside of the triple option.
I mean, sometimes you blow them out if they're completely unprepared. Colorado, I don't think is going to get run roughshod through. They're not a soft.
But this is my point though, is like if you can beat TCU and then all of a sudden get a little momentum and knock off Air Force, you could be 2-0. And then you start believing. I got them. I think between game 1 and 2, if you listen to our Air Force pod, I took Colorado to beat Air Force. I think they're going to get one of the first 2.
Okay.
So I got them at 1-1. You?
I'll give them one of their first 4. And I don't even want to do that much, but I'll do that for the sake of this pod.
Well, back-to-back away games here because this schedule, once again, we didn't even talk about that. They have 2 sets of back-to-back away games. They go at Minnesota to Huntington Bank Stadium in Minneapolis, where they got they got their ass whooped by Minnesota last year, and I think they're going to get their ass whooped again this year because Mike Sanford was just the OC at Minnesota. I think they're going to know anything about his coaching philosophies.
Yeah,
it'll be here, so I think they're going to lose this.
Yep, on the road, second end of a back-to-back,
and then they're home to DTR, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, and UCLA. I think they're going to get their ass kicked here.
Shame this game isn't played later in the season. Getting a team from Los Angeles would be nice in November, not so much in September in Boulder. Got to agree.
So you got them 1-3 in the first 4. I do too.
I think they're probably going to be 0-4, but I'll give them 1-3.
They get a bye week before they welcome. I'm sorry. I'm skipping over October 1st at Arizona. So this is my point: is if they're able to beat TCU and ride that momentum to beat Air Force and be 2-2 after September, and then on Saturday, October 1st, you're at Arizona, you have a chance to be 3-2, and then you can actually say, hey, maybe we can get to a fucking bowl.
Yeah. I
don't think that's likely. I got them at 1-3, but at Arizona, they whooped Arizona's ass last year.
Yeah.
Now, Arizona though was the opposite of Colorado. They did great things in the transfer portal. Jaden DeLaura's there. I can't take Colorado in the desert. I'm taking Arizona to win that.
They whooped them so bad last year that I'm going to give this one to Arizona.
Colorado, you mean?
Or to Colorado, rather.
Okay, so you got them at what?
34-0 last year. Granted, that was in Boulder.
Colorado beat them 34-0. What's your?
I'll give them 2 and 3. I'll give them 2 and 3 at this point.
All right, join you. I'll join you. All right. They get a bye week and then they're hosting Cal at Folsom Field, one of the most beautiful stadiums.
Huge game here for that over.
I got Justin Wilcox and Cal.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So 2-4, right?
Yeah.
Then they're going to Corvallis. I actually am kind of bullish on Jonathan Smith's team this year. 2-5.
I'll give them one of those. We'll say 3 and 4 for me.
Really?
Between I don't.
So you need one more win then. But look, They're hosting Arizona State. This is, to me, for homecoming on Saturday, October 29th. This is a winnable game because of the scenario. Like Herm Edwards might not be the head coach of Arizona State here.
There's your chance for the over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm taking Arizona State.
I am too.
Then they host.
Just the talent.
I appreciate the Pac-12. Look at these next 4 games. Home to Oregon. Loss.
Yeah.
At USC.
Loss.
Back-to-back away. At USC and at Washington.
Loss.
And then home to Utah.
Loss.
This team, I'm on the under.
Me too.
I hate to do it, guys.
2-10, 3-9, 4-8 would be a nice season. You know, I think anything higher than that, 5-7 would be.
What's happened to this
a
fucking
miracle
program?
for Carl Durrell.
Come on, Buffs. Listen to this. Let's get a better NIL thing together. Let's go out and get some players, man. Come on. What happened to the days we used to get all those? Man, we used to have 10 players drafted.
Yeah,
certain seasons. Come on.
Let me look at this stat. From 1991, I believe I was looking at, until 1997. So 7 years. 7 first round draft picks. Since 2004, 2 first round draft picks.
Crazy.
Yeah. So that's
Crazy.
what that's almost it's 18 years with 2 first round draft picks. And back in the 90s, 7 years, 7 first round draft picks. Times have changed in old Boulder.
Let's get it together, man. Come on. Let's go out and hire somebody. I don't know. Maybe Carl Durrell's the man. I just wasn't impressed by the Sanford hire. Let's go Buffs though. All right. I want to run with fucking Ralphie. All right. Let's do this damn thing. All right, folks, subscribe to the College Football Experience. You can subscribe, wherever podcasts are found, or check us out on YouTube. Give us a subscribe button there. If you give us a 5-star review on iTunes, take a screenshot with your phone. Find us on Twitter. We're at TCE on SGPN. I'm on Twitter at TheColbyD. Patty C's on Twitter at PattyC831. NC Nick, who's on vacation, is on Twitter at NC_NICK. Give us all a follow. Check out the Sports Gambling Podcast. They're on Twitter at DSGP Network. And I think you'll dig a lot of the other shows. We also host a college basketball experience where Colorado's basketball program actually has gotten way better since the 90s.
There you go.
So Tad Boyle doing a great job there. We also host the college baseball experience with Noah Beanick. We also host the USFL gambling podcast as that season heats up in Canton, Ohio. The playoffs to the road to the Freedom Cup. Check those out. If you're a Broncos fan, you're going to want to check out the Sports Gambling Podcast because they are already talking tons of NFL stuff. Fantasy football podcast also, that's always great. Fantasy football gambling podcast and the CFL gambling podcast if football is your thing, but NHL gambling podcast. Hello, the Colorado Avalanche. Did they win tonight, Patty C?
Let me take a look. Do we have a new NHL champion here?
Did they get it done?
It's
drum roll.
3-2. They're
on.
down by 1 with 3 minutes left.
Well, let's go Avalanche. If you're listening to this, but subscribe to the NHL Gambling Podcast. I think you'll dig it. All right, folks. This is the College Football Experience. CU Buffalo style. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.